Yes, now, bless now, don't forget the rest now. Des Rocksteady at King of the Pit TV. Yo, we're looking into Spreading the Disease, which is the second record by Anthrax. We only just listened to it. I actually only just had a little look into Fistful of Metal. We had a look at the history regarding that, and now we're going to go into Spreading the Disease before we move on and listen to more of Anthrax's discography. I am looking forward to Among the Living, because I know Caught in a Mosh is on that record, and I covered that. I covered that song back in the day on my first thrash metal band. I'm not gonna lie to you people. All right. I did cover it. We wrote one song ourselves, and then we did Caught in a Mosh, and that was it. After so long, the three piece was over. Nobody did vocals. Nobody wanted to. I was definitely too scared to do vocals, but I did like riffing. This is Spreading the Disease, so second studio album by Anthrax, released in '85 by Megaforce Records and Island Records. So Megaforce come together with Island on this one, and Island is Goliath. So Island Records is a multinational record label owned by Universal, mate. And Universal is the biggest label in the world. There's big three labels, Universal, Warner, and Sony. And Universal owns more than all of the others. It was the band's first album. So let me just say, if you're under the big three labels, that's the umbrella. All of these subsidiary labels exist underneath. If you're any participant in any label that is under them big three labels, you are mainstream. That is a mainstream label. You've more than likely signed the contract. In this day and age, you've signed the 360 deal. You're getting fuck all. Some idiots rinsing you, and it goes all the way to the top. That's the way it goes. It was the band's first album to feature vocalist Joey Belladonna and band's bassist Frank Bello. Special 2-disc edition of the album was released in 2015, celebrating its 30th anniversary. Right. Background and writing. After Anthrax finished touring in support of Fistful of Metal, vocalist Neil Turbin was expelled from the band. Matt Fallon replaced him. So who's Matt Fallon? It was with Skid Row as well. He was quickly fired because he lacked confidence in the studio. Get out. You know what? You find this. I've spent more time in the studio, for the most part, than I have done on stage, personally. I've spent a lot of time on stage, but I've spent a lot of time in the studio as well. You do find these comfortable and confident musicians that are fine to come and jam. Once you get them into the studio, it's shaky hand time. You do find that. So I understand, when you're relatively new to the experience, you feel like there's a lot more pressure than there actually is. It doesn't matter. Producer Carl Kennedy suggested that the group to audition Jelly Belladonna, who was not familiar with thrash metal. Wow. Though the band members were not pleased with Belladonna's musical background. What's his background? Let's have a quick look at our Joey's background. In his youth, Belladonna looked up to bands such as the Beatles, Zeppelin, Kansas, and Rush. Bands that Belladonna said created stuff that was very intricate but yet catchy and hooky, with great vocals. Interesting stuff, eh? Heavy metal, hard rock, what would now be considered as classic rock, and obviously the Beatles, great songwriters and so forth. The album featured the single Madhouse, for which a music video was produced, but it did not receive much airplay on MTV because the station believed the content was degraded to the mentally insane. I got something to say on that. Spreading the Disease was the band's major label debut and was released by Megaforce / Island Records. I've got direct correlation to that because I recorded a music video myself. I record a few songs on the side and have fun with my mates who are videographers, and we record some videos and stuff, and they did have a straitjacket which I put on, and then they produced the music video, and then when I showed it to someone, they did say, I didn't think too much to that, and I didn't think at the time. And don't get me wrong, we can always say, oh, it's just art, and it's just like, why are you so offended, and so on and so forth, but this person had a genuine opinion, and they did sort of like cringe a little at it. So I can see exactly why they might have been a little bit iffy about it. I mean, it doesn't affect me, it doesn't affect the next person. And I know people personally who have had, issues as to where they've had to go into places to be looked after and stuff. And I don't see the correlation myself, but someone who's a little more touchy and might find the reason to moan in things might perceive it as that way. That's just the way it is. But of course, you can't go around, not stepping on people's toes. It's just impossible. This was the last Anthrax album to feature songwriting from Turbin. It was also the first to feature songwriting from bassist Dan Lilka after his departure from the band. I wonder what Turbin wrote in this band, in this record. For more of his songwriting could be featured on the following album, On the Living. Turbin wrote the lyrics for Armed and Dangerous and Gung Ho, and Lilka contributed to the music. Zazula was given songwriting credit for Medusa, his only contribution to Anthrax. He was originally credited as a sole writer of the song, but album reissues credit the rest of the band as well. Additionally, former vocalist Matt Fallon, who left during the recording sessions, claimed in the 2016 interview that he contributed to the lyrics, but was left uncredited. The band has not commented on these accusations. They just said, shut up, don't comment on him, let him fade away. We're Anthrax. After recording the album was completed, guitarist Scott Ian, Charlie Benante and Lilka, who had joined Nuclear Assault, founded the Stormtroopers of Death and recorded the album Speak English or Die, a milestone in crossover thrash. For them to just use that studio time and create that project is absolutely amazing, don't you think? In his autobiography, I'm the Man, the story of that guy from Anthrax, Scott Ian said, the acronym in the song AIR stands for Adolescence in Red, and that it was a wordplay on George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. Gung Ho Outro is a rondo from Symphony de Fanfares from the composer John Joseph Moret. Right, cool. And that's it. Cover art. We got a couple bits more actually. The cover art was made by Peter. I think the cover art's sick. Cover art was made by Peter Corriston and Dave Heffernan, who had worked on Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti sleeve. Physical Graffiti is an underrated record. So many good tunes on Physical Graffiti. In the light, everybody needs a light, ooh baby. Benante came up with the concept of a man being investigated for radiation levels. It is said that he deliberately made the man have a strong resemblance to his nephew and bassist Frank Bello as an inside joke, although they never confirmed or denied this, right? I've got professional ratings here. They got way better ratings for this than they did Fistful of Metal, I'll tell you that. We're looking at, 3.5 to 4 stars generally as far as ratings are concerned. We got Rock Hard 9.5 out of 10, Sputnik Music 4 out of 5. Fistful of Metal, you're looking at 2 stars out of 5. Reception: Spreading the Disease released in '85 and received widespread acclaim by music critics. In a contemporary review, Howard Johnson of the British magazine Kerrang recommended the album as the great example of thrash metal around and as the best example of thrash metal around, and equaled Anthrax to Metallica in the craft of writing great songs. I disagree at this point. I do disagree. If they were writing like Madhouse over and over, yeah, but at this stage, no. Metallica's songwriting is something else. Modern reviews are also very positive. AllMusic Steve Huey said the album was a great leap forward from its predecessor and one of Anthrax's finest. He praised the lyrics for paying tribute to fictional characters in Low Justice and Medusa. Canadian journalist Martin Popov, these are the same journalists who were right from the original record, calls the album a shocking blast of noise from a long-haired bunch of punks that knew their own business, praising the deceptively chaotic songcraft and Belladonna's vocals. Sputnik Music's Mike Stagno has also liked Belladonna's vocals as well as the tight riffs of guitarist Ian Spitz. Stagno said Spreading the Disease had excellent sound and production and recommended the album for fans of thrash metal. Frank Trojan of Rock Hard wrote that Spreading the Disease had more potential and intelligence than Fistful of Metal, as well as more differentiated songs. Definitely differentiated songs, I agree with that. British author Joel McIver describes Spreading the Disease as the sound of pure determination at a point in metal history where boundaries were being pushed every day. How exciting is that? That's an incredibly exciting comment. The sound of pure determination at a point in metal history where boundaries were being pushed every day. Let's put some respect on Joel McIver for that comment. He is a British author who has wrote Justice for All, The Truth About Metallica, and he's done works of biographies including Black Sabbath, Slayer, Thunder. I've never heard of Thunder, Ice Cube and Queens of the Stone Age. Yeah, put some respect on Joel McIver. That's a great statement, and that makes me excited for whoever was alive then. Yeah, cool. And there we go. That was on Billboard, peak position 113 out of 200. So that was Spreading the Disease, 34 minutes long, 43 minutes long, should I say. Recorded in Pyramid Sound Studios. Producer Carl Kennedy, Anthrax and John Zazula. Singles was Madhouse. Right, I'm signing out, people. If you got anything to say in regards to that, if you want to communicate, engage over that, please do so. Peace.